Thank you everyone for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the opportunity that I've been given to share some of the work that we're doing at BCU. And I'm just really interested in initiatives across the globe working in this area, and I'll be happy to correspond with anyone that wants to discuss any of this further. So this is the second session, and the first one was very much introduction. This one is more focused on some particular strategies. And then the final one will be around changing the culture within academic teams, within faculty. So without further ado, okay, so in this presentation, I'll be talking about industrial mentors forums, special interest groups, and industrial advisory boards. So just a very quick recap of the employability ecosystem. The crux of this diagram is really that it relies on ongoing interaction with industry partners. And a vehicle that I found to be incredibly helpful was quite a simple thing in a way. It's just an online forum, but it's a way of keeping in contact with networks of industry partners and keeping those relationships active and dynamic, and allowing students to talk directly to industry-based professionals. And there's all sorts of benefits which I will go on to in a moment. And you'll also see on the diagram here, there's mention of industrial advisory boards. I'll talk about that. I'll also talk about special interest groups. So the aim of the Industrial Mentors Initiative is to maximise the potential for ongoing communication between students, industry-based professionals, and academics. And one of the key things that I like about this approach is that it doesn't differentiate between large multinational organisations, SMEs, some of our graduates who work as freelancers. It allows, it evens the playing field and allows our students to talk to all of those different aspects of industry. So one of the key things that I've noticed over the years is that students really need to build their confidence, and confidence is a key issue, particularly for our students who a number of them are commuter students. They might live locally. They do not necessarily have the industry networks or professional networks through family connections to build those initial gateways into graduate professions. So this is our way of scaffolding some of those student experiences. So the forums themselves are obviously facilitated by the university, and we have to use a university endorsed platform. We now use Teams. Previously, we used Moodle, VLE. Most of the participants on the forum are graduates who have gone on to successful careers. They're at different stages of their career, some of them quite early careers, some of them 15 years in, 20 years in perhaps. So whilst mentorship schemes are a well-established facet of many undergraduate courses, this model is different. The other schemes that I've witnessed over the years tend to be one mentor to 2 or 3 students, and it tends to be quite close interaction between that small group. Whereas this approach is much more about sharing experience across the whole program. So, when one student posts, all of the students across all of the years can see that post and benefit from it. And the real reason for doing this, what underpins it, is to support graduate employability, to help our students to achieve successful graduate outcomes, and to help them towards graduate employment. So in terms of the benefits, I'll start off with what I'd see to be the benefits to the university. It allows us to keep our relationships with industry partners alive. I've witnessed it in the past where sometimes the relationship with individual companies can sort of come and go, and they can wither slightly as time passes between engagement. And that doesn't allow the industry partners to really get a deep understanding of the programs and the courses within that program. It's a great way for sustaining links with alumni, and it enriches practice-based learning. And one of the ways we're measured in the UK is through the National Student Survey, And these kind of interactions really help our students to enjoy their courses and to reflect satisfaction in those surveys. These interactions with industry can also support research projects, joint research projects. But another key benefit is that sometimes, and you may have noticed this in your organisations, that sometimes industry links are jealously guarded by individual members of faculty, of academic staff, and those links can disappear if a colleague leaves the organisation. Whereas a forum such as this, those links remain even if somebody leaves. So in terms of benefits to the students, it supports interactions with recognisable, relatable role models. And crucially for me, it's about enhancing in student engagement as they can explore the industrial context of their developing academic knowledge. So something that I've witnessed in the past is that students, particularly nowadays, will be quite quick to question why they're studying certain things and how this might benefit them and what the purpose is. And by having this ongoing engagement with industry and with these forums, it allows that porosity between the higher education organisation, institution and industry, and it allows the students to feel confident that the skills they're learning are going to help them to achieve those graduate jobs. But I also noticed that it allows students to build their communication skills, to practice and to start to feel like they're part of an industry sector before they actually graduate. And I think that's really important. In terms of being shy to post, we do have some students who are a bit reticent about posting on a forum, even though this is very much a safe space. It's obviously, it can be monitored through the university, but even within that safe space, some students might be shy of posting, but they can still benefit from the posts of others. A number of the discussions are around careers advice, placement opportunities. That's in the UK, we have opportunities for students to add an extra year to their degree and to spend a year in industry. And the forums can allow students to talk to employers and to gain inside knowledge that will help them to achieve a placement. The other key benefit is it gives students access to global professional role models. So on the forums that I've been closely involved with, there are mentors from all over the world, and the students can ask them questions. I can think of one in particular who works at Meta, and the students have been asking him various questions about his work to do with sound design for that organisation. And it allows students to build those professional networks, which for students who may lack social capital, as I mentioned, that can be absolutely critical to achieving the successful outcomes. In terms of benefits to employers, the forum-based approach is obviously asynchronous, so they can contribute when it's convenient for them. It can help them obviously in terms of graduate recruitment, can support live projects where they can have a piece of research that they can suggest to students and they can get some input on key issues that they're grappling with. Something that I've noticed as well is that the mentors really enjoy networking with each other across the different organizations, the different companies. But that particularly is beneficial when we have opportunities for face-to-face interaction. But also it's a chance for industry professionals to reach what can be quite a hard to access and diverse demographic, i.e. our students, who can give them feedback on their products and their services. So the original forum, the one that I started about 10 years ago, was to support two audio-based courses that I was closely involved with, BSc Music Technology and BSc Sound Engineering Production. So I started the forum in the days before Teams using Moodle, because this was the university endorsed platform. And it worked well in some ways. The students posted and interacted, but it had its drawbacks. It was a bit old-fashioned in the way that it worked. When someone posted, everybody got an email alert, and that feels like spam to end users. So I was quite keen to find an alternative. And whilst I looked at Discord and other alternatives, as I said, it had to be one that was endorsed by the university, and Teams really fitted the bill. And it has helped enormously since we switched to Teams in September. It's much more efficient for both students and industry mentors. Currently, on the original sound-based forum, there are 30 mentors, and approximately 2/3 of those are our alumni. So the image on the left there is just a screen grab from the team, and you can see that it's organized into channels. The channels don't represent individual courses on a program, they represent sort of themes, and that was quite deliberate to encourage participation by students across all the different years of the program. Okay, so again, another screen grab there from Teams. This is just to indicate the general channel, which is there just to give a code of conduct and to welcome all users. We've never had any problems with misconduct, by the way. I've been asked that a number of times, whether there's been any posts that are deemed to be problematic, and that has never been the case. I think there's something about the tone of the forums and obviously the fact that the students are keen to forge careers with some of these companies, and it's the tone is not frivolous. It is relaxed but professional, which is great. So this is an example of one of those themes, one of the channels around acoustics. And the way that I organize it is to have a pin post at the top, so it stays there permanently, introducing all the various mentors who are on the individual's channels. And this is an example of one of Russell, who has supported us for many years. So in terms of the types of discussions that go on, obviously the discussions can be started by students, academics, or industry mentors. They are often around particular technical skills. Students sometimes draw parallels between what they're doing on the course, on their programs rather, and industry practice. So just one example of that, I had a student post asking one of our mentors who works as a software engineer what coding languages they use in his organization. And the response was that they use various languages depending on the need, which was great because that sort of reflected how we teach on the program and the fact that we try not to be wedded to one particular language. So you can see from a student point of view, that will hopefully give them extra reassurance that what they're learning on the course is appropriate. Yeah, so sometimes students have asked for insider help to do with interviews and some support and guidance towards the kind of questions that might be asked in a professional interview. Sometimes these discussions have led to work experience opportunities and site visits, and sometimes I don't actually find out about this until after the event. So I know of a number of students that have contacted one of our graduates who works for a sound design company in Soho in London, and students have gone down and visited the studios and got a real feel for the working environment. We've had other students that have, again, through the forums, arranged site visits to theatres and, yeah, other professional organisations as well. And sometimes the discussions have been around our final year projects or capstone projects, and the students will pitch ideas on the forums and try and get some feedback from industry professionals to try and add an extra dimension to their thesis so that it can be based on industry practice as well. Another key aspect for me is using the forums as a vehicle for giving students formative feedback. This is something that I've tried on my courses over the last couple of years. So the scenario here is that the students are working in small groups, coming up with a business concept. They capture their work in progress in a PowerPoint presentation, a bunch of slides, which they share informally on the forum here under one of the channels there. And that can be accessed by the industry mentors. And then the follow-up to that, we had a session where the students are in the classroom, they're on site, and then 3 industry mentors from 3 different organisations, one of them being based in the States, in the last time I did this, can discuss and give feedback to the students on their work in progress. And I found that to be so beneficial. And the fact that the students weren't being marked at this point, it seemed to reduce the stress for the students, and they really enjoyed sharing their ideas and taking on board the feedback. They could see the benefit, and then obviously they could feed this, the learnings from this interaction into their summative piece of work, which they submitted formally. I've also looked at or used interactions on the forums as part of the assessment itself. So the way that I've done this is through a minor element of the assessment being given over to reward students for their interactions on the forum. And I've been very careful to couch that in a way that doesn't necessarily penalise students who aren't doing lots of posts. You can see activities on the forums, and you can just, through Teams, and you can just reward participation in whatever form. So in terms of stakeholder feedback, there's some examples here, but hopefully just by dipping into some of these, you can see that it allows students to see the bigger picture and to really appreciate the industrial context of their learning. So the forums act as a bridge. It allows students to build their confidence, and it really supports a culture of openness. So it's a really positive learning environment where students, academics, and industry partners can interact. And you'll see here from some of these quotes that there's one there from one of the industry mentors who's saying that he really appreciates the fact that as academics, we're open to this discussion with industry professionals. I've included some brands there just to give you an idea of the kind of companies we're talking about. So there's some huge multinationals there. Music Tribe is, I think, the biggest audio product manufacturing company in the world, and it incorporates brands such as Behringer. But then you've got tiny organisations such as JA Productions there, which is just a single industry professional working there. Focusrite is another manufacturing company. So you can see it's a complete mix, and that works so well. So overall, what I've found is that there's a real untapped potential for closer engagement with industry, as long as it is done in a way that is respectful of their time and is easy, and is something that you can dip in and out of as you have the opportunity. I found that alumni really want to give back. This may surprise you, but in all the times I've reached out to individuals to see if they would like to join the forum, not a single one has turned me down. There was one who said he would see how it goes for a month or so, and he's still there years later. So there's a lot of goodwill. Sometimes it may be to do with companies' corporate social responsibility and diversity initiatives, but that isn't something that I've recognised generally. It really is down to goodwill. People like to share their skills and like to share their experience. There's a video link which I'll share in a moment, which really exemplifies that. So just looking at the original forum, it's open to around 130 students at any one time, gets around 4,000 views, 2,000 posts a year. Another forum that was set up on the original Moodle approach was for our visual effects program, and that included mentors from 10 different organisations from across the globe, from Canada, India, New Zealand, and the UK. And then we've got a huge initiative in our faculty around reimagining engineering, our engineering programs. And this is going to be based around block delivery and delivered in close partnership with industry partners. And as part of that, it's going to be underpinned with the industry mentors forums. So in terms of my recommendations based on my experience of how individuals might set up such a forum, so this will hopefully give you some shortcuts to save and build on some of the learnings that took me a little while to develop. I would recommend that the strategy is based on informal and a grassroots approach. So encouraging academics to draw on their established industry networks. I would encourage teams, or for management really, to not make this too prescriptive and too bureaucratic, and to allow faculty to take ownership and to customize the approach of the forum to suit their particular program and the culture of their program. The actual approach evolves as well as time goes on. I would encourage reaching out to individual members of academic staff who might act as early adopters, and to get those on board who really want to do this, who see the benefit. Support from higher level university management is important. And we had this with our program, but to be honest with you, it was originally a grassroots based initiative. But to cascade it more widely, it needs to be supported by university management. I would suggest sourcing initially anyway, program leaders who are very perceptive of the potential of this initiative, and to create clusters, perhaps using another team, Microsoft team, where the program leaders who are piloting this can come together and share some of their experiences. Another thing which might sound trivial, but which colleagues have told me is really important, is the sharing of crib sheets for how to reach out to potential mentors. I found that some colleagues were a little bit shy, a bit reticent about how to approach potential industry partners, and simple crib sheets can really help with that. Which leads me on to the fact that there needs to be training for academics, faculty staff to get involved with this. I would say for an initial forum, you need around 6 mentors to really get it going. My first one only had 1 mentor initially, and it quickly built, but 6 is a good way to start. Encourage particular students who may be early adopters, and some of my colleagues actually paid students through university funds to act as mentors, to act as facilitators rather, champions, and reaching out to potential mentors themselves, which was great. Yeah. I will also encourage colleagues to use such interactions and such forums as part of program marketing. I found this to be really beneficial. Students, potential students and parents, they sort of light up when you talk about this opportunity to build industry networks whilst you're still a student. It really helps. Okay, so one of the benefits of the Industrial Mentors Forums is that it leads to other initiatives, and one of these was the special interest groups. This was born out of working with partners who, again, gave a bit of time to support students who wanted to pursue extracurricular projects. So the example that I'm giving here with this photograph is students that they're studying acoustics courses as part of their programs. They are interested in pursuing careers in acoustics, and they actually do real world extracurricular projects with industry partners. So this one here is to do with it's one of our Premier League football clubs in Birmingham, and they had a conference suite which had issues with their internal acoustics, and the students did all the measurements and all of the planning and scoping out the suggestions as to how the acoustics of that room could be improved. So it was a real world project delivered to a real world client. So it was a real win-win. And then industrial advisory boards. I use this photograph deliberately because you can see it's quite a relaxed atmosphere. So the subject level industrial advisory boards are kind of ongoing discussions, and they tend to be the same people that are also part of the forums. So these partners are talking to faculty, to academic staff, discussing approaches to assessment, to content of individual of the curriculum and how it's delivered. And it's that ongoing conversation. It's actually become the norm now for academic teams to test their ideas through the boards before they actually go forward with a new assessment or a new strategy for delivery for the students. And then you've got the more traditional, slightly more formal college level industrial advisory boards, which are more strategic in focus. And this is where we pull together all the various informal advisory boards, representatives from each of those, into a more formal structure. So you get that cross-pollination. That's a really good mix. There's nothing that beats face-to-face engagement. And we have our annual Innovation Fest, which has just finished a few weeks ago. And we try to make sure that we maximise the potential of that, bring our industrial mentors on site to meet academics, to meet students, and to really consolidate those relationships that they've developed online over the previous year. And that is absolutely key to the lifeblood of this whole employability ecosystem that I talked about at the start. So in the third session, the final session, which I think is scheduled for October, I'll be talking in more depth about supporting colleagues on this journey towards closer engagement with industry partners. As you can imagine, we're on a journey ourselves at BCU. We are constantly employing new staff from across the globe, and we need to integrate them to our practices. And there's an awful lot of cultural transformation going on, and there's various things that I've learned over the last few years that I'll be happy to share as part of that final session. If you'd like to find out more about the Industrial Mentors Forums or any other aspect of the employability ecosystems that I've touched upon, you're welcome to contact me either through LinkedIn or email. I'm particularly interested if anybody would like to pursue a pilot scheme at your institution, perhaps with the Industrial Mentors Forums approach. You're welcome to contact me. I can share a guide that I've created. And I'm also looking to gather some of the learnings that I've developed over the last decade and to publish some of this. And you're welcome to be part of that if that's of interest.